my focus of this session, I'm looking at what are the international concerns, what are the concerns in terms of food safety that are affecting food security and nutritional status globally, and especially in the areas where we are working. At USAID, we have the result framework and the high-level target. The indicator that we are measuring, everything is leading to improved agriculture productivity, improved nutritional status, ultimately to reduce stunting and to reduce poverty. Food safety as a factor, something that we have to pay attention to it. How does that fit in this result framework, and what's the importance here, why we should consider it? And hopefully in the leading few slides, in coming few minutes, we'll be able to discuss this point. To go over the WHO foodborne disease illness, the numbers of children who are under 5 and they care about 40% of foodborne illnesses, and that results in 125,000 deaths a year. Some about 60 million children under the age of 5 fall ill, and about 50,000 of them die every year from foodborne in the Southeast Asia region alone every year. And this is some of the highlights from this report. And if you look during this report, throughout the report and the publication by Ari Havilar, the majority of the causes for the food safety concerns of foodborne diseases were pathological. So you have bacterial, viral, parasitic, and then you have toxins and chemicals. Again, if you look at this slide from his publication, out of the 25 million cases, the majority are microbes, and helmintics come to the second measure. Now, aflatoxins and other toxins, including pesticide, come low here in the case. And just to be cautious, the reason they have this low level of aflatoxin as shown here is because they are looked, again, as any epidemiological study, looked at the reported that they could found result of aflatoxicosis and reported liver cancer disease, and death happened from that. They, of course, they will not consider the association between stunting and aflatoxin or other mycotoxin, for example, because it have not been established as a causality yet. So if there's, of course, if we could have a good tracking system globally, this number most probably will be higher, and this is one of the things they are still working, trying to get funding and to work on it to establish or to collect more data for it. And at the same time, he looked at aflatoxin only, but mycotoxin, there are more than one just aflatoxin. We have multiple mycotoxins that could impact the human health. Now, the key factor, if you want to look at them, what are the key factors affecting ultimately the nutritional status? We are looking at diet, food, and in the food and the diet, we're looking at diversity, whether it's animal source food, legumes, fruit and vegetables, and of course the base new energy supply in terms of the staples, and of course the behavior, having the people use it in an appropriate way, the hygiene practices, the essential nutrition and hygiene practices. And then we are looking at the environmental factors. And when I look environmental factor, I look at the macro and the micro environment. So think where you live. This is your macro environment, and the macro environment around the child, the playground, what is available around them, the hygiene practices. And then think also the microenvironment, what happened inside the system, inside the body of the child, the gut bacteria. Is it a healthy assembly, or did they go through a healthy assembly of gut bacteria or not at birth or after birth? Do they have any cotoxin or others causing environmental enteropathy, etc.? And finally, I will add the food safety component. And in the food safety component here, we want to see what are the components that are affecting our food safety or intake. We are looking at mycotoxins, pathogenic and pesticide, what could be introduced into our food value chain. And of course, we are working where we work, whether in Africa, Southeast Asia, or Latin America, a lot of the dependence on staples, maize-rich or rice or wheat-rich diet or dominant diet. So you are few diversity here. Then what we want to move is more of a diverse diet. So we want more of animal source food, more fruit and vegetables, more of the rich, nutrient-dense food. And this ultimately will be hopefully better for nutrition. But what will be the outcomes if we don't pay enough attention to food safety? The theory is, as we are at lower diet diversity here, we have this, remember, the mono diet or the majority of staples. So we are concerned about few pesticides we might spray on them or not, Also, in terms of mycotoxin, there are limited mycotoxin that could be entering through our diet or the value chain. As we are moving from this area to the area of huge diet diversity, where it's really rich in nutrient, then we are looking at more input that we need to add here to produce fruits and vegetables, more pesticides, because those are susceptible to infection and pathogens. We are also introducing the source for pathogenic growth in the surface of meat and fish and pathogen coming in the milk, but also are introducing different types of mycotoxin that could be introduced. So it will not be an aflatoxin only problem. It will be ochratoxin, fumonisin, zearalenone, and others. And of course, we have other factors that could introduce the carry on the mycotoxin, such as the milk. So with this, as we are increasing diet diversity, if we don't pay attention to the essential practices, the good practice in the delivery and the transportation and the storage, etc., of our food production in the value chain, we are increasing our risk of food safety. So the energy and the nutrients we're gaining from the food, it will be spent on fighting these diseases rather than building the body and the growth. And we should not trade on food safety for the sake of food security. We should create this balance, because a safe food is a secure food sources, and that ultimately will lead to an improved health and better health outcomes. If we want to look at where are the point of entry, this is just to go fast run, what are the point of entries for food safety concerns or for pathogenic and mycotoxins. Again, let's not think only mycotoxin. Mycotoxin is one of them. We have the bacteria, we have the pesticide, we have others. And it starts from production all the way until you have it in your mouth. All this part, they are a point of entry for aflatoxins, other mycotoxin, for pesticides, germs, etc. into your food. And of special concern for us, if you look at them, we are looking at two major concerns: chemical and biological. And biological, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasitic, and chemical, you are looking at pesticide, you are looking at toxins, the freezer, etc., in the value cold chain. Of course, physical, those are something the food industry, the household preparation, etc., have to deal with it. Is not an ag problem. In terms of the ag problem, you are looking biological and chemical component. And the causes of contamination, again, think, for example, if in terms of having a source of food, what will be the point of entry or the concern for it? So you are talking about the safety during shipping, the storing, handling, and personal hygiene. Now that will bring us to the pre and post harvest processes, and whether you are looking for animal source food or crops food, you have to have a good agronomical practices, and you want to think about the handling and processing of the food. Now, in terms of challenges that we at USAID or at Feed the Future were facing in terms of food safety. Really, we have limited budget, and as you know, every donor, every organization, every research program, you are giving a limited budget, a limited time. And when you are having limited budget, you need to focus. And that's what leads to point 2, where our focus is mostly on aflatoxin, or one item. Aflatoxin is a huge problem. Again, is not a small problem that we need to deal with, but also we have other problems that we need to think about beyond aflatoxin. So more resources, more fund need to be pulled in, and that lead to more coordination within USAID between the different bureaus and within the other agencies that are US government agencies and other donors. So we need more coordination. And also we need to bring into the game the global health community. It's not only an agriculture problem to deal with the food safety issue, it is a health and agriculture. That's what you can think about it as a nutrition sensitive component. One of the challenges we really need to build, again, if you look at the second slide, we were talking about the causes for food safety. We have a big evidence gap. We need to build a lot of the evidence to provide data and get into the bottom of it in order to get to the what are the most cost effective, if you have a limited time, limited budget, package of intervention that will help to deliver the best outcomes for you. And we are working hard toward diversity. We have several programs from World Vegetables, from Aquaculture Research Program, from Innovation Lab, etc., that are focusing on increasing diet diversity. But when we are increasing diet diversity, if we are not paying attention to food safety, we are at a serious problem. And we have a value chain focus in the value chain focus, we have really a lot of assumption built in it. And this assumption, they are assuming that good agronomic practice, good practices are enough and sound in order to handle the problem of food safety. But where you have a lot of assumption, that's where you have a lot of failure there. Why it is important for foreign assistance? Again, think trade, especially in the US with the new changes, and think about Europe, US, the majority importers for food from global other markets, Food Safety Modernization Act, etc. The impact on economy, that if the food is not safe enough to enter any market, it will not leave the local market. Proved on the impact on public health and the food security and nutritional aspect for it. And in terms of the way we are doing or dealing with it or think about programmatic approach to food safety, so we're looking at research and development. We're looking at the innovation labs that we have 24 of them. We look at our CGIAR partners. We have the SPS capacity building programs, sanitation and phytosanitation programs. And we have few of those programs are developing some more of those with their look at all of this from the supply chain risk analysis all the way to the incident management. And of course, we need, in order to leverage our resources and to increase the impact of our funding, we need to really partner with our other donors and to create more of the public-private partnership. Without engaging the private sector, the food industry with us will not achieve our target ultimately. And in order to start responding after, this discussion of food safety have been going on at USAID for a while now. And in order to get prepared to face this challenge, we have established an interagency working group in food safety. I'm not gonna read the team of references for our food safety working group. You can read about it or this slide later. And thank you.